Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mallory, and in this video we're going to be talking about our baby's 4-month update. So if you're new to my channel, welcome. If you are already subscribed, welcome back. And if you're not, just scroll down and hit the red subscribe button so that you don't miss any other videos in the future. I do videos on here about, oh yeah, I have my little helper down here. I do videos on motherhood. I've done videos on pregnancy when I was pregnant. I've also started doing videos on infertility, which is something that we struggled with before getting pregnant. So make sure to hit subscribe if you're interested in any of those things. Let's get into the 4-month update for Max, and I will bring him up here in just a second. He's lying on the floor watching me talk. He was born on January 8th, 2020. Yeah, that was your birthday. January 8th, 2020. I'm recording this on May 19th, 2020, so we're like a week and a half out from his 4-month birthday, but he turned 4 months on May 8th. And so let's just go through all the different categories in the previous videos, which I will link the playlist up above. The previous baby updates, I kind of have a format that I've figured out. So the first category is medical and health. And he did have his 4-month well baby check. So typically babies go to see the doctor every 2 months. So, well, after 1 month. So then they go at 2 months, 4, 6, etc. And we had a great appointment. He is on track for everything, his gross motor skills, holding his head up, you know, everything, all the little checks that they do at the pediatricians. He is totally on track. And in fact, he's a little bit ahead with his verbal skills because the doctor told me that, oh yeah, you can kind of expect between 5 and 6 months old, he'll start using consonants along with vowel sounds, like not just vowels. And I said, oh, he's been already doing that for a while. Like, I'm pretty sure he's been doing that, like using consonants, like especially G, since he was like 2 months old. Definitely since he was 3 months. Also, we were finally able to get him weighed because he was supposed to go in for a 3-month weight check because he was a little low in his percentile. I guess he had dropped at his 2-month appointment to the 9th percentile. Here he is. Say hi to the camera. Hi to the camera. And so they wanted us to come in at 3 months to get a weight check, but because of COVID-19, I decided to cancel that appointment. I was like, it's not worth it to go into a doctor's office where there's sick people. So when they weighed him, he weighed 11 pounds, 9 ounces, and he was born at 7 pounds, 6 ounces, and he actually dropped again in percentile. So I believe, she didn't say, but I kind of was able to see the screen, and it looked like he was in the 5th percentile for his weight. I don't know about his height. He was 23 inches long. So I'm not sure about his height, but at least for weight, he was in the 5th percentile. So he dropped by 4 percentage points. The doctor is not concerned at this point. She said it's probably because I was telling her just how active he is. Like, he's always on the floor. Like, if he's not sleeping and not being carried by me, he's on the floor generally on his tummy. We don't use any baby containers other than the stroller or the car seat. So if he's not in my arms or in bed, he is on the floor. And so he spends a ton of time scooting around and holding his head up and kicking his legs. And she said that his weight could simply be he's just burning a lot of calories and he's eating fine. He's not spitting up a ton. He is developmentally on track for everything. So she said it's not anything to worry about at this point, but we will be going in at 5 months to do a weight check. And if he's dropped again, then she said we would get a little more concerned, I guess, and do like some blood tests just to make sure his thyroid is okay, and like test his, I think she said iron levels, maybe see if he's anemic. That was like the biggest piece of news from his appointment, is that He's not even 12 pounds yet. So he's a very little guy. He can still fit into 0 to 3 month clothing. He does not fit into any 6 month clothing. Like now he's closer to 6 months than he is 3 months, but he is not fitting into 6 month clothing yet. Let's go to his developmental milestones. So the first category is gross motor skills. This area, I feel like he's just exploded this past month in his gross motor skills. And he's always seemed to be like pretty keen on gross motor. So he's just gotten even more mobile this month. So he started rolling freely from his back to his tummy in week 15. That is harder than rolling from your tummy to your back, which he did start doing, I think, around week 11. But it was week 15 that that rolling. I mean, it was just like every time I put him down, he'd hardly stay on his back and he would just roll immediately to his tummy. So he does that all the time. He also began intentionally grabbing his feet and bringing them to his mouth. Also, after he got used to being on his tummy, like rolling to his tummy, he then started scooting forward. I've seen him before scoot in a circle, both on his back and in his tummy. But now he can just scoot forward just ever so slightly. It's not like he's creeping or crawling or anything, but he can, I can have a toy like pretty close to him, but like barely within his reach, and he can scoot and like, get to it. So that's pretty cool. That started happening in week 16. So just like a week after he started rolling to his tummy by himself. He can also hold his head up really high, very strong. He has great neck control. All the gross motor skills, they're great. Like he's such a little mover. He is so active. That's how he was in the womb. All right, let's move on to his fine motor skills. So he continued to have a fascination with his fingers kind of near the beginning of month 4. He would just lie in his bassinet and like play with his fingers and look at the picture on the wall and just kind of babble. So not so much. He's not as interested in his fingers anymore. It's more his feet now. I guess it's the interestingness has transferred from hands to his feet. He continued to do rudimentary grabbing, but by the time he turned 4 months, he still was not truly doing a good grasp at toys. He would more like do just like a rough grasp, I guess you could call it that, with larger items. Also, he started reaching out and touching our dog Zoe. So she's a German Shepherd and she loves coming up and licking his face. And he started reaching out and petting her, kind of, like just reaching out and touching her fur. And then also he would sometimes reach out and touch Mark's beard, because my husband has been growing a quarantine beard, even though he's in the military. They don't have to go into, well, he's in school right now, so they don't have to go into school. So, he's just growing a beard, but sometimes he'll hold him up, Max up to his face, and he'll just like kind of grab at it. So that's kind of fun. So he started to grab more at things. And then verbal skills, he basically just kind of continued how it was in month 3, continued with the babbling of like consonants with vowels like goo and gee, and he also makes this like kind of like blowing bubbles a little bit. So he'll do that. Nothing super extraordinary or like super new in month 4 as compared to month 3. It's, if anything, he actually got a little more quiet. It's not like and I say that and he yells. He definitely would sometimes get more loud when he hears me and Mark talking, so it's like he wants to talk too. But he did seem to get a little more quiet actually in month 4 and become more observant. And I guess I'll talk about that in like the miscellaneous category of development. So yeah, he's really become a lot more visually observant. So we started going on walks in the stroller with him sitting up. So before, I would just lay him down in the seat that was made into a bassinet. But then I decided, like he's having really good head control now, and torso control. And so let's see how he does with sitting up, like almost straight up. And he did great, and that's how we take most of our walks, unless I'm trying to get him to go to sleep. But I just remember, especially those first few times of being in the stroller and like being able to actually look around at his surroundings and see the trees and the sun and people riding by on bikes. He was just so fascinated, and he's still like that. Like, he'll get really quiet and just look around at his surroundings. So it's almost like he's taking more in and just not outputting as much with like verbally. Like I said, it's not like he hasn't regressed at all with verbal stuff. It's like he's making more observations about the world around him. He also started paying attention more to books when we would read together. All right, the next category is firsts and new things. So we didn't have a ton of firsts this month. If the camera is rocking, it's because he's lying right by the tripod and he has his hand wrapped around one of the legs. He did have his first grass experience. So it was like earlier in month 4, but it was a really, really nice day. It started getting warmer outside. And so I thought, oh, we should go outside, put a blanket on the grass in the front yard and just sit out there and introduce him to the grass. And so I did. And so I had his feet like touch the grass because that's a really good sensory experience. Also, something new is that he moved to his crib. You did. You moved to your crib. But I won't talk about that until the sleep category. But that was something new this month. We did have some new challenges as well, which I haven't really talked about, but I guess they just became more apparent over this past month. He has been a little more fussy than he normally is. He's generally a very mild baby, which I think I said that in my month 3 update. And he still is a very mild baby. You know, it's not like he cries a ton, but he's definitely been crying and fussing a lot more in this past month than previously. And probably I can chalk it up to, one, starting to teeth. He doesn't have a tooth yet, but the doctor did see a little bit of a bump on his bottom gum, and what they call the 4-month sleep regression, which I do not like that term. They're not regressing. They're just going through so much development at this age that their sleep just gets disrupted, and you know, they're trying to figure things out. So it's probably that, because sometimes I've had many instances over the past month where he just won't go down for a nap or even for bedtime a couple times, and I would just have to put him in the carrier. Yeah, I would have to put you in the carrier and you to go to sleep that way. And yeah, so I'd have to put him in the carrier so that he would go to sleep. And then I've just been having a little more issues with putting him down in bed and leaving him. I think it's just that age where they start having a little more sleep problems. Again, like, it's not like his problems are crazy awful. It's just, relatively speaking, we're having a little more issues. Probably other people would look at how he is and be like, oh, well, I wish my baby slept that well. So, I mean, it's kind of all your own perspective and like how your baby has been in the past. Okay, so since we're kind of now on the topic of sleeping, let's talk about the sleep category, which I believe is the last category. So he still is sleeping really well at night, and he will go anywhere from like 9 to even 12 hours between feeds at night. And that's really great for this age. I mean, I don't know if that's completely typical, but that's what he's doing. His naps are not as long as they were before, you know, like when he was 2 months, and maybe even a little with 3 months. At 3 months, he was, you know, taking good, solid 2 to 3 hour naps. But in month 4, that is just not typical. And maybe it's because, you know, he is sleeping more at nighttime, so he doesn't need as much sleep during the day to like fill his sleep tank. So like we are really lucky if we get a 3-hour nap in during the day, or even like a good solid 2, a couple 2-hour naps. Sometimes they're shorter than 2 hours. Sometimes they're barely 1 hour. It just kind of depends. Every day is kind of different when it comes to napping. So he definitely is sleeping better at night than at naps. But I think I prefer that. I would much rather him be sleeping through the night and not napping as well than the other way around. So I mentioned earlier that we moved him to his crib, which you can see behind me. So Mark set it up, and I don't know what brand of crib this is because we got it for free from a neighbor when we lived in Germany. It's like, it seems brand new almost. There's just like a few scratches in it that are barely visible. And then the mattress is from Baby Leto, and the sheets that I use are from Burt's Bees Baby, and they're organic sheets. Okay, so we moved him to his crib around week 18. Right before he turned 4 months old. And I know that the American Academy of Pediatrics, their official recommendation is to wait until they're 6 months old to move them to their own room. And I did bring that up to with the pediatrician. I was like, I know the official recommendation is that, but she said, unless you're living in like a huge mansion and your baby is like super far away from you, she's like, where is he? I said, well, his room is like right next to ours. Like, I probably don't even need a baby monitor to listen for him. And she's like, oh yeah, that's fine. Like, it's basically the same thing as being in your room. You just don't want them like somewhere where you just can't hear them at all. And so we started off with doing just naps in the crib. So that first day I had him do 1 nap in the bassinet, and then the next one was in the crib, and he took to it just perfectly fine. And then the next day he slept his first night in the crib. So not that night of doing the naps, but then like the following night. And yeah, he slept through the whole night. So ever since then, he has been sleeping in the crib and not in the bassinet. I did keep the bassinet up like just in case, but we have not used it once since he moved into the crib. And it's been like, I guess it's been 2 weeks now. So we probably can take that down and put it away. I can't believe it's like the end of an era. Like, no more bassinet. Oh, you just needed to burp. All right, well, I think that's it for his 4-month update. Just again, overall, gross motor movement, he's just kind of exploded in that area and become a lot more observant and a little more fussy, but that's probably the 4-month age. Stay tuned. What are you doing? Stay tuned for his 5-month update. I know that I do these like kind of mainly for myself, just so I have a record of his development over this first year, and then after the first year then I won't be doing monthly updates. But it's so fun seeing the baby development over the weeks and months, and just seeing them discover new things and do new things all the time. So this first year it's hard some days are really hard, just from sleep deprivation. If he's really fussy, it can be hard to get things done sometimes, but I know that after every season passes, I'm gonna miss it. Like, I remember missing the newborn stage like so much. Even after like the first month or 2, I was like, oh, I missed the newborn stage so much. So I'm sure that I'm gonna miss like this stage once it's over, like even though it was hard. So anyway, just trying to savor each moment, and that's it for now. So again, remember to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, so that more people can find my videos and my channel. I'd really appreciate your help. Now that I'm like basically done with the video, he's being quiet. Are you gonna say goodbye to the video? Can you see yourself? Can you see yourself? Can you see? That's Max. That's Max. All right, you guys, take care, and we will see you in the next video. Bye. Say bye, Max. Bye.